Hi, I'm Liz.
And I'm Rhea.
Welcome to Karma's My Bitch, a podcast about love,
Sex,
connection,
abundance,
joy,
purpose,
peace,
and how life isn't simply the stories we tell ourselves.
So earlier in the season, I think it was episode 1 or 2, we talked about the beauty of being an outlier. And what's great about being an outlier and why we looked at outliers is that they tend to hold a certain wisdom, a certain knowing, and a way of being that allows them to exist outside of the herd. And that kind of strength, that kind of knowing, and that ability to be in one's own power does say something about their character. And that's where integrity comes into play, right? And that's why integrity is so important, because the more integrity we have, the more we are able to be outliers. Each and every one of us, yeah? Because then we're not inclined to conform. We're not inclined to agree with people we don't normally agree with, just so that we can fit in or survive. So what's interesting about today's episode is why it's beautiful to be a fuck-up. Now, we've never referred to outliers as fuck-ups because we can't equate the two. And it's not as if when we talk about fuck-ups, we're talking about the opposite of being an outlier. There's just something about how important fucking up can be so that it does actually serve us. Because if we really want change, we need to be able to give ourselves permission to fuck up.
What do you mean by fuck up?
It's a really good question because I actually don't really know. I wasn't given anything to sort of see when I was doing this outline, probably because I gave myself 5 minutes to do the outline, right? So I wasn't quite contemplating it. But it was sort of the ability to kind of experiment and maybe have accidents so that we can learn and push the boundaries of our knowing. Because that's how we gain greater intelligence. That is how we gain greater wisdom. Because if we don't push the bounds of what we think we know, we won't ever grow or change.
But also, who's to say you're fucking up anyway? What does fuck up even mean?
Well, fuck up, I mean...
people would say my whole life is a fuck up.
Well, yeah.
All right. According to you and your rules, my life is a fuck up. Mm-hmm. But, you know, and yeah, sometimes I make mistakes for myself. But then I often find out that they're not really mistakes. And I was bang on. Yeah. If I'm honest. Yeah. Like, I don't really know what a fuck up even is.
A fuck up is the one who pretty much breaks the rules of 3D. Struggles to do anything right, yet generally gets away with all. And people are like, well, how did they do that? Yeah, that's not an outlier. That's usually the fuck up.
Because that's me.
Yeah. Which is maybe why for you, you're like, well, what's an example of a fuck up? My entire life is a fuck up. I'm like, well, okay. Without judgment.
But it like, you know, like, that's why I'm like, what is it? Like, it's all right.
No, same.
It's true. Everything I do, someone, like, I was like, ooh, really? And
whoops.
I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, is it whoops or is it amazing? Like, whatever. I don't care.
I mean, again, there's no judgment around it. There was just no other term that would adequately describe what it is that we are trying to convey. So fuck up was really just the best word or best term.
Yeah. But I have to say, because I think it kind of, I get 3 things from it that maybe others wouldn't necessarily think of. One, that actually I figure out that there's more than one way of doing stuff.
Yeah.
Not just the standard way. There are other ways of doing stuff, and they actually could work just as well, if not better.
There's like a ton of scientific discoveries that tend to happen from the whoopsies.
And then the second of all, kind of, I feel like it allows me to experience more than I think I can. Like, there's so much stuff that I would be like, oh no, that's not for me. Oh no, that's not for me. Oh no, I can't do that because of what I look like or who I am or my social standing or my race or my gender or my blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know, and then actually it allows me to experience all the things that otherwise I would have closed myself off to.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm just like, fuck it. You know, like, I'm already trundling through life. I might as well continue. Do you know what I mean?
I've always been the person who has tripped through life. There's a lot of things that didn't happen the way that they were ever quote unquote supposed to happen for me, right? And so for me, I was the fuck up from a pretty, like, from my teen years onward. And at some point, I think my family just gave up.
Yeah.
And
then my family have totally given up.
Oh yeah, they've totally given up. But then the beauty of it is they look at my life and they think, oh wow, you really did it. Yeah. Somehow it's all worked out. Yeah. I'm like, well, yeah, I just had to do it my way.
Yeah. Well, then this is my question then, because you know how you were saying in the last episode about how, like, divine is in everything, blah, blah.
It's amazing. It's the all.
So isn't also being a fuck up you're allowing yourself to become more divine.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely another way in which we can experience our divinity, because that's how we really experience our strength. I think some people would refer to being a fuck up as having resilience or grit, right? Being able to face adversity, especially the adversity you create for yourself, and somehow find a way through and to overcome. But we really like the term fuck up because we think that humanity hasn't given itself enough opportunities to explore beyond the bounds of what it thinks it knows.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because there's way too much judgment. There is way too much peer pressure. There's way too much FOMO that exists that's really beginning to seep into younger generations' mindset. That's also keeping them from becoming fuck-ups. And so we really want to be able to emphasize that the desire to experiment and the desire to live one's life according to one's own rules and values is far more important than fitting in.
But the one thing that kind of goes against that in my head is kind of the concept of time. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
like, do I need to learn every single way in which I'm fucking up? Can't I just get it right?
That is a very good question. But the thing about fucking up is that there are no rules when it comes to time. And you're never running out of time. Again, our concept of time is quite limited, and it is quite linear. And the reason why becoming a fuck up is so important, it's not as if you're supposed to fuck up in a phase. You know how we kind of say, oh, your teen years, your 20s are for sort of fucking up and fucking around and just plain fucking. And then at some point you get serious, you become the adult, you do bullshit, Saturn return or whatever that crap is. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, I have to be more responsible. It doesn't work that way. Actually, what we're moving towards is much more of a fucked up lifestyle, because time will cease to be linear. More and more.
You're going to need to explain that more, sorry.
We have been preparing ourselves since about 2014 to become multidimensional beings. And when you are a multidimensional being, you are a conscious being, which means that your physical, mental, and emotional bodies are completely aligned and you're operating from all of those bodies simultaneously.
So you can only be a multidimensional being once you're conscious?
That's correct. In order to operate that way, time can no longer be linear. As in...
Why?
Because time, as we know it, is a mental construct. So it rules from the mind, right? And so our mind is constantly trying to keep us on time. And that always kind of hurts us, because part of our growth and evolution cannot be matched to any timeline, because our fates run on their own timeline. So it's not about achieving certain things by a certain age because we think we have to, because that's what society has said or dictated. That's a sort of social standard.
Is that like those bullshit memes of like, I became a doctor at 75, I met the love of my life at 97?
Yeah. Although we agree with you that that's a lot of bullshit. I mean, some people were just very delayed because socially they couldn't do it sooner. Fine.
So what do you mean though then?
So once you are operating according to the timeline...
Once you're conscious, okay, you're operating from your fate.
Once you are conscious, you're not necessarily operating from your fate. That depends. But once you are conscious and operating according to your fate, as in you are living out your purpose. Because you can hit consciousness before living out your purpose, but you've got to be in your purpose to really be able to operate from your fate. Then your mental body can no longer rule the rest of you, right? So you're going to be operating fully conscious according to your fate and so it's a very different timeline. Now, you are also then entering 5D, which does not have any of the constructs from 3D, some of which is controlled time. The 24-hour clock, the hitting certain milestones at certain ages, etc. Everything comes up for grabs at any time, as in any minute, any hour, any day, any week, any month, so on. So when you are no longer operating from linear time, you can be fully dimensional. Sorry.
What is that?
So when you are no longer operating from linear time, as in linear action, linear decisions. I have to do this at X hour, and therefore I will do this prior to that, and then I will do this, after, etc. As in like step by step, A, B, C, right? You can go A to F, back to D, and so on. And nothing in your life falls apart because you didn't do them in a specific order. If somebody's operating in a multidimensional way, it's not the same as multitasking as if we're trying to do like multiple things at one time. Again, it's you're operating from all of your bodies, and you are somehow, everything that you do is somehow furthering your purpose, even if you are not actively working at it. And because you are operating from your fate, everything happens in flow. The thing is, we have never been able to do this in our physical bodies because our physical bodies are so ruled by our mental one that our physical bodies have been very contained and very limited. So when this starts to really happen to us, we are going to get caught back-footed. As in, we are going to really not understand what's going on. We're going to feel as if our heads are literally up our asses. We're going to feel as if everything's upside down in our world. And we're going to feel as if we can't seem to get anything right and nothing's happening.
Oh, that sounds really excellent.
Yeah, I know. It's really something to look forward to. But the reason we're sharing this is because this is going to be happening to more and more people as they begin to really become conscious. It's just feeling like, why do I feel like I'm late for everything? Why can't anything happen when I think they're supposed to do? Yeah.
I definitely experience that all the time anyway. That's not any different from life.
Well, if you've experienced the flow of being in 5D and operating from your fate, and then this happens, you're like, what? It really feels like everything's gone wrong. How long does it last? A couple weeks to be able to align to that energy. It feels very messy. It feels like I can't manage. And I think, but I'm still doing the same amount of stuff. I haven't tasked myself with more, and yet somehow it feels overwhelming.
Mm. So what's the goal at the end of this?
It just allows us to be fully our God selves, which is just your blah, blah answer.
Yeah, that is a total blah, blah answer. What does that mean?
So it means that we can be the all, as in we have enough energy that can encompass our entire fates. So not only are we operating and in flow with our fates, it also just means that we have a direct link to our point of essence, which is really our God self. So to be able to be that connected to the divine, as in you are operating as the divine, it means that you are your most powerful self that you could possibly be in body at this very moment. It's pretty incredible. And so that's what it takes, Rhea, to really be able to usher in magic. That's what makes you magical. So once we are our most divine self, I'm just going to plow through then for all of our sakes just to finish this episode. It's pretty amazing because once you are your divine self, you get to exist beyond the space that your limited mind had believed. And for so many who have existed in their karmic realities for a good part of their lives, if not their entire lives, who are still governed by rules and bullshit because of their egos, who maybe still have an ounce of that core fear that they're not good enough, they have no idea what they're really capable of. So the moment you can get to that space is when all bets are off. It means then the world can really change. It means that you can really push things, but the results are still the net positive, as in you're still getting exactly what you want. You're still getting exactly what you desire. You're still hitting every single goalpost in your fate. And what's more, that's what enables quantum leaping.
Oh, what?
We talked about quantum leaping.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, it's just like, okay,
it's a lot.
How do we do this bit? How do we do this?
How do we get to this multidimensional space so we can do all the fun stuff that you really desperately want to do, tonight? You get to reap the benefits without the work.
That's my favorite place to be.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best. And that's how it should be. It should be effortless, but with the kind of effort that we enjoy. Yeah. So the effortless bit is, I didn't have to sacrifice anything and it's all peaceful.
Yeah.
But the effort that is required is somehow doable and easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does one get to this becoming a multidimensional being?
So after consciousness, it's about digging into your purpose. Digging. And that is really what is keeping people from reaching that higher consciousness space is they stop. It's like, okay, I'm aware enough. I've healed enough. Everything is enough, which is great. But at the same time, when you really want to get to that space of being able to practice magic, to being that truly magical being, who is just the most divine being possible in this lifetime, you've really got to get to that place where you can dig into your purpose, because that's where your power lies.
So that's basically, you just really have to be in your purpose. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be conscious, be in your purpose. That will lead to higher consciousness, and that will really move you along your fate even faster.
Look, I mean, I guess this is probably sounding to most people, including slightly myself, a bit Harry Potter.
Okay.
But I guess
fair.
I need to see it to believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's really how we've always operated. Yeah. But that's what it takes to change our belief systems, right? Otherwise, we're going to be stuck in the old 3D way of thinking.
Well, yeah, because our mind has always thought X equals Y. So once we change X into A, B, C, D, and we get something else that's even better, then our minds can expand and see that actually X doesn't always equal Y, and there's a host of possibilities of input and output.
Yeah.
And I guess we're expanding our minds by following our hearts, right? And marrying the two.
Yeah. And the more possibilities we explore, the more those possibilities engender more possibilities. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what we're having to really uncover and push forward so we can open the doors to those. Because right now what we're sort of doing is we're stopping, starting.
Yeah.
Instead of sort of being in flow and just allowing that to be. And so we just need more people to be fuck ups. We need more people to like just be willing to stand up and speak their minds and speak their hearts and own their truths in a way.
And we're going to have a lot of compassion for them as they do it. Instead of shoving them back down and throwing judgment at them.
Exactly.
We need to welcome them with open arms.
Yeah.
Because otherwise no one has the space to do that, right?
Not at all. If we can't give ourselves permission to do it because we don't feel we're ready, it doesn't mean that we can't hold space for others to do it who really are. Because no matter what you try to do to contain this energy, this dimensional shift we're undergoing, or whatever this karmic growth and evolution we're experiencing, the shit's messy. And we keep trying to pretend it's not messy, but it's fucking messy.
Well, life's always been messy. I don't understand why we're just the fake order made us all conform to something that didn't look messy on the outside.
Yeah.
But inside we were all messes. It was never perfect. All now is coming is it's just coming out so we can see it.
Exactly.
We're just going to have to roll with it.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. For more information, articles, and inspiration, find us at karmasmybitch.com and at karmasmybitch.insta.
And if you liked what you heard, please subscribe and leave us a review.